I'm gonna hit the record button. Right. So now allow sharing. Okay, and then let's get this show on the road. Okay, thank you for that suggestion. Under required, we're on exercise 2.4. It says complete the following table. Show how the balances of the control accounts will be reconciled with the totals of the list. A standard VAT rate of 15% applies. Okay, cool. Guys, I want you to interact with me, to engage with me, because I strategically picked out this exercise to facilitate interaction and engagement, because obviously you guys will fall asleep if it's just me talking the whole time. Okay, so please, let's engage, let's interact, and then yeah. Okay, so for now, I think let's get into this. So what do we have up top in the question? It says the following information relates to Merlot traders. The business makes use of a hand system of accounting. Okay, it says balances on 30 April 2008, debtors control, creditors control. Then it says totals of lists on 30 April 2008, debtors ledger, creditors ledger. Okay, cool. No problem. All right. So quickly, before we move forward and start reading the additional information there, those balances that I just read out, we plug them in here. Okay. So you can see for the debtors, we put in for the debtors control account, we've put in that 11,000 on balance. For the debtors list, we've put in that 4,950. Okay. Then for the creditors control account, the balance currently is 16,120. And then finally, also for the creditors list, the final balance is 18,429. Okay, remember the topic we're doing is debtors and creditors reconciliation. Can you see here that the debtors list this balance, sorry, 4,950, does not match this 11,000 on the debtors control? All right, and can you see same case with the creditors control account? It does not balance with the creditors list. Okay, so already we know somewhere we've made mistakes. Okay, right, but anyway, let's proceed. Let's go on. So it says after all the ledgers of Merlot had been drawn up, the following differences and errors were depicted. Okay, so they managed to establish the errors, and now we're going through it to see what amendments, where are these amendments supposed to be made. Okay, so number one, it says the total of the debtors control column in the debtors allowance journal, 1,200, was posted to the debit side of the debtors control account. Okay, so before we can do anything, we need to understand what's actually happening. Okay, the total on the debtors control column in the debtors allowance journal. What happens in the debtors allowance journal? We have to know what happens in the debtors allowance journal first. Returns, rebates. Thank you very much. Exactly. So this is going to reduce your debtors control account. Okay, but here what does it say? It says it was posted to the debit side of the debtors control. All right, remember the debtors control is an asset, so on which side does it increase and on which side does it decrease? That's a question for you guys. Increases on the debit side and decreases on the credit side. Thank you very much, Etienne. Okay, so if we are putting returns on the increase side, that's clearly a mistake. Okay, so this debtors column in the debtors allowance journal should be on the credit side. So now the question now is, what do we need to do to rectify this error? What do we need to do to rectify this error? Maybe just to show you guys something. Okay, and this is why I was saying that your 1.1, you have to be on point, otherwise. So here we have our T account. What we're saying is we know that it increases this side, and we know that it decreases this side. Okay, this is the debtors. I'm just going to say DC for debtors control. Okay, might as well make one for the creditors control, because we'll probably use it at some point. Okay, remember it's a liability, so what does it do? Increases on the credit side, decreases on the debit side. So here we're saying that we have this 1.2, okay, which was a return. Okay, it's not supposed to be here, right? So what do we need to do to rectify this? Somebody tell me there in the chat. Yes, we have to credit it. Okay, so let's do that then. Let's credit it. So we credit 1.2. Okay, so this 1.2 will cancel out that 1.2. Have we recorded the transaction yet? Are we done? Is it okay? So we fixed the error, but remember, have we recorded this correctly now? Can we leave it like this? Are we happy? 100% Sepang, we can't leave it like this. What else do we need to do? Okay, we've just canceled out the error. We still need to record the transaction. Okay, how are we going to do that? We have to now record it correctly. Okay, since this was a return, it should reduce our debtors control. So we need to record another 1.2. So in other words, in total, we need to credit 2,400. Okay, so we come here. Oh, I'm still drawing here. So we come here and we say credit the debtors control account, and that's 2,400. Okay, done. Now we're done with the first one. Then we go to the next one. It says a credit note issued for 100 Rand has not been recorded at all. At all. Okay, a credit note. Now we have to ask ourselves, a credit note, okay, it could be a rebate, all right, it could be a return. Yes, 100% Sapang, thank you so much for that. You are 100% right. We needed to credit for 2.4. Okay, awesome stuff. So a credit note is either a rebate or a return, or we overcharge someone. So if the credit note had not been recorded at all, and this is a credit note issued, okay, so which is this going to affect our debtors, or is it going to affect our creditors? Since it was issued, it means that we gave out a credit note. Is it going to affect our debtors or our credit? It's going to affect our debtors 100%. Okay, so how do we record this? How do we record this? What needs to happen? It hasn't been recorded at all. How do we record this? Come, guys. I need you guys to think about these type of questions. Guess if you have to, so that we can learn together. Okay, because if I just give you the answers, you guys will get to the test or exam and be like, "Ish, we did something like this, but I'm not sure what to do here." We credit the debtors control account with 100 Rand. Okay, yes, that's correct. We do that. But now the question is, are we only going to credit the debtors control? What about the debtors list? Because remember, they said it has not been recorded at all. Okay, so it's not only the debtors control that's going to be affected, but also the debtors list. Okay, but 100% right, we are going to credit the debtors control. So let's do that. So we go here, transaction number 2 or additional information number 2. We're crediting by 100 Rand. Then we also need to go to the debtors list and credit by 100 Rand. Sorry. Okay, cool, awesome stuff. Now we go on to number 3. Number 3 says, oh, and if there's any questions or thoughts, if something doesn't make sense, please feel free to ask. Okay, just switch on your mic and feel free to go right at it. Okay, number 3, it says, a settlement discount granted to a debtor was erroneously credited to a creditor's account in the general journal and posted as such. The VAT inclusive amount of this discount was 228. Okay, so let's think about what's going on here. That's the first thing that you have to do. What is actually going on? We have a settlement discount that was granted to a debtor. Okay, that's fine. All right, settlement discount granted to a debtor. Oh, that sounds normal. Now, here's the problem. It was erroneously, by accident, all right, journalized and posted. Ooh, what? It was by accident credited to a creditor's account in the general journal and posted as such. Okay. All right. So when you hear and posted as such, okay, what that means is it's affected the creditor's control and it has also affected the creditors list. So let's think about this. Here they said it was credited to a creditor's account. Okay, so if we want to rectify the fact that it was credited to a creditor's account, how do we rectify that? Because it wasn't supposed to be credited to a creditor's account, it was supposed to be it was supposed to be credited to a debtor's account. Okay, because we wanted to remember settlement discount granted is where we're reducing what somebody owes us. So we need to take out that amount and put it in the debtor's control 100%. And the debtors list as well. Okay, so we debit creditors control 100% because we credited the creditors control, and then we debit debtors control as well. Okay, but remember they also said and posted as such, so we know that the creditors list and also the debtors list also need to be affected. All right, so we say, okay, first things first, as was mentioned, we need to debit the creditors, and that was 228. Okay. Then remember they said and posted as such, so also we know the creditors list was affected, so we need to debit that as well. Okay, to remove it out of there as well. It means when they say and posted as such, it means also that the individual creditors account was also affected. Okay. Then we know that we want to reduce this debtors account because it's a settlement discount granted, so we need to also credit debtors control, and we need to credit your what's it called? Credit your debtors list. Yes. Okay, let me just try to open this a bit more. Okay, there we go. I think that looks neater. Okay. All right, awesome stuff. All right, so we've dealt with number 3. Let's move on to number 4. Number 4 says the debtors control column in the cash book receipts was overcast by 350. Somebody tell me, what does that tell us? If something is overcast, is 100%. Yes, okay, perfect. We're all aligned. Okay, no problems. Okay. If something is overcast, what does it mean? What is going on here in point 4? The debtors control column in the cash book receipts was overcast. Remember the cash book receipts, we are always receiving cash. So thank you very much, Sachet. You're definitely right. It means that there is 350 is extra. It's more than what it should be. Okay? Undercast, less than what it should be. Overcast, more than what it should be. Cool. So now that we know that, how do we rectify this? How do we rectify this? The debtors column in the cash receipts journal, what do we do? When we post it to the ledger, do we debit or credit the debtors control account? When we're posting the debtors column in the cash receipts journal. Okay, so let me go back to my, so this is the debtors control, all right? Now, where that column, the cash receipts, it's our debtors giving us money. So are we going to credit whatever they've given us, or are we going to debit? Remember, debit means our debtors is increasing, and credit means our debtors is reducing. So what are we going to do there? I'm not asking for the solution just yet. I'm just asking what we would do with the debtors control column in the cash book receipts. Do we credit that or do we debit that? And thank you, Etienne, that's 100% right. We credit it. Because what are we saying? In the cash book receipts, remember what we're saying is happening in the cash, we're receiving money. So if we're receiving money from our debtors, that means that what they owe us is decreasing. Okay? So we put the amount here on the debit, on the credit side. So if we put 350 more, so let me just do this. 350, we put an extra 350. I'm just going to put a plus 350 to indicate it's an extra 350. To get rid of this 350, we obviously need to credit 350. Okay, so that's all we need to do here. Just credit the debtors control. Remember, they didn't say post it as such, so we can assume it's only the in the debtors control that they made an error. So 350. And we're home and dry there. Okay. All right. I think we'll see how far we get. But this might be the last one before we take a break. We'll see. We'll see. Okay. A credit note received for 700, including VAT, was erroneously journalized and posted as an original invoice. Okay. So we know a credit note is when we have a return or a rebate. Okay. when we have a return or a rebate. So if it was treated as an original invoice, a credit note received, so this is us, we're the customer in this case, received, we didn't issue it, okay? But now it was treated like an original invoice. That means somebody treated our transaction as if we bought more when actually we had been returning goods, okay? For 700 was erroneously generous and posted as an original invoice, okay? So how do we rectify this? We have to, first and foremost, let's see how it would work. Okay, so a credit, I think I can continue with, so let me go with blue. So a credit note would reduce our creditors control because we're returning goods. But guess what we did? We treated it like an original invoice. So we put 700 here. We increased what we owe people. Okay. So again, to rectify this, not only do we need to debit 700, but we need to debit another 700 to record it right. Okay. So 700, I'm just going to write it out so everybody can see. 700. So you can understand the logic of what we are doing. So this first 700 is going to cancel out this entry in error. Okay, and they said and posted as such. So we know not only did we do this in the journals, but the lists, the list was also affected. So here we're debiting for 1,400. Okay, and here we're also debiting for 1,400. Okay, so it's going to try hit one more so that at least we've done majority of the question. Okay. So here it says a debtor's individual balance of 2,000 was transferred to their account in the creditor's ledger. The entry was correctly made in the subsidiary journals and ledgers, but in the general ledger, the debtor's control account was debited while the creditor's control account was credited with 2,000. Okay. Right. Okay, so what is happening here is we have somebody who is a debtor and creditor at the same time. Okay, so we're making this 2,000 was transferred to their account in the creditor's ledger. So we're saying since we have them both in the debtor's ledger, right, and in the creditor's ledger, we're now transferring the amount that we are owed by them from the debtor's ledger to the creditor's ledger. So it was done correctly there in the ledgers and in the journals, but the error came in when posting to the debtor's control account and the creditor's control account. Can you see? It says the debtor's control account was debited. We know that when we debit the debtor's control, we are saying this person owes us more. But can you see, because they are a debtor and a creditor at the same time, what we're saying is what they owe us, we're using against what we owe them. Okay, so what was actually supposed to happen here was we were supposed to credit the debtor's control and we were supposed to debit the creditor's control. Okay, so here we're supposed to say, okay, 2,000 again, we're doubling it so that we remove the 2,000 that was debited in error and also then record it correctly. So this is going to be 4,000. Okay, then creditor's control, remember we were supposed to credit it, debit it, but we credited it. So we're going to debit again for double here as well, 4,000. Okay, right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to stop over here. I'm going to stop over here. We'll take our 10-minute break. Then we'll proceed after 9. Okay, we'll make it, let's make it 2 past 9. Okay, then let us proceed. Okay, see you guys in a few. If you have any questions, again, just drop them in the chat, then we'll deal with them as soon as we get back.